Welcome back, my duelist friends. Casual Duelist here, and it's been a busy last week. Honestly, with the Pokemon game coming up at the end of this week, and trying to get everything together to start a channel for that as well. I didn't want you guys to feel like I was neglecting the Yu-Gi-Oh side of things. I'm just trying to get it to where I can actually schedule things out a little bit better, and hopefully, we can do that in an appropriate way that does not deprive you guys of goodness, but instead makes it to where it's more scheduled and routine and easier to get this stuff out to you guys. So, that said, this is one of the decks that got pushed back because of Cyber Strike. I did want to do some Shaddoll stuff for Spooktober, but honestly, that was a couple weeks ago. There was a lot to catch up with. I didn't expect that we were going to be able to build 3 versions of a budget build as well as 3 versions of the main build as well. But it was exciting. So back to decks I wanted to do. And the first one is Shaddolls again. Mainly because we were able to get schisms with the Megaton. And also because I did kind of an invocation build before. I think I did a pure build before. And this is a pure-ish build that plays slightly different. So let's get you guys a deck list, and then we'll discuss stuff afterward. So real quick, I'm also doing this in engine format, sort of. So hopefully that's good too. First card I'm going to use is I'm actually going to maximize out on Wendy. She's just one of the better cards in this deck. And the only other one that I'm actually going to run 3 of is going to be 3 copies of Squamata. I got some 2s. We got 2 Hedgehogs and 2 Nel Shaddoll Ariel. Again, good effects. Not as, like, I don't need to see these as often, but I do need to see them. And then my 1-ofs, I'm going to be running a single copy of Falco. Not that I would ever run more than one. 1 copy of Beast, because he's just good. And Dragon at 1, because, again, Dragon is useful. But right now, since we're not seeing like the big back rows, Squamatas are going to be our go-to guy over Dragon. So that's that. Let's go ahead and clear the board here real quick for you guys. Weird transition. And then we got our supporting cast. So one thing that we're going to support with is we are going to use 2 copies Mathematician. Again, as a walking foolish burial, kind of necessary, good starter. To go into that engine I was talking about, I'm going to be using just a handful of Magistus cards, and the main deck monster will be the Aurelion and Magistus of Ver. Again, this is a really good one, so we're going to play it at 3. And one of our big bonuses is, since we want to play Construct as rapidly as possible, this is going to be a main deck light, which is actually going to increase our ability to play it. Moving over to hand traps, one thing I've noticed is playing up against things that swarm, big combo decks. So 3 copies of Nibiru. And again, this is one of the things that sort of takes us out of being budget, but I think it's fine. You guys can substitute whatever you have here. The only issue with Nibiru right now is Crossout Designator is still fresh in everybody's mind, and it's probably going to be in the sideboard. So for game 1, you should be fine. Game 2, you may end up having to play around it. And in my other hand trap I'm going to use 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Again, I wanted to steer away from Ash, even though Ash is like just generically great everywhere. Veiler does allow this to be more budget friendly. But additionally, besides having a great effect, this is another 3 copies of a light attribute in the main deck. And again, something that you guys could do in the side deck, you could side into Lancias if you find out that you need that little extra control, maybe some disruption there. And the last 2 are because we are going to be using Dragoon. Gotta have the Red Eyes, gotta have the Dark Magician. So hopefully you guys have gotten all that. We're just going to kind of fake shuffle that together. Very good. And we're going to move over to our spells now. Again, this is a very fusion-based deck. So you kind of have to be playing 3 copies of El Shaddoll Fusion. And, of course, 3 copies of regular Shaddoll Fusion. This just sets you up for so many amazing plays. If you end up in like a combat variant, Shaddoll Fusion being a quick play will allow you to press with your monsters, then combine into a fusion monster and press further. It's a good idea. Another cool card that allows you to do this, and as well as some fusion trapping, is 2 copies of Super Polymerization. So just real quick, maybe you guys don't have like everything that you need to play Dragoon. You don't have Dragoon, you don't have Verde Anaconda. You could easily bump that up to 3 and play over the Red Eyes Fusion. Again, only a single copy here. You guys definitely need Foolish Burial, just because this is how you're going to trigger some effects and just guarantee some plays. And then because we are using Magistus Ver, we're going to be using Rilliona. I wanted to add Magistus Invocation as an additional fusion spell. And then Vritra as just an extra, sort of like a Monster Reborn. It's very specific, but since we do have the ability to target Magistus spell traps, that does make these both searchable and very fun to play around with. So there is all of that. And then we're going to move over to the traps, just the 2. Again, since our fusion monsters are going to be recycling our spell traps quite rapidly, we do want to have some good options here. The first one will be the Shaddoll Incarnation. Again, 1 is really all you need. And thanks to the Megaton, I finally have a Shaddoll Schism to play. And even though I pulled a playset, guys, 1 is all you really need. So that'll conclude your 40-card main deck. Let's talk about that extra deck real quick. So, let me do that the right way. Again, I'm running 2 copies App Cologne. Good card, great card. I'm going to be running 3 copies of Construct. And if you are a Shaddoll player, you understand why Construct is so good. And then again, we need some control aspect. So 2 copies of Winda. Now this will be all that we're running for the Shaddolls. Again, if you want to do some fusion trapping, you can definitely side into the extra attributal fusions, or you guys can go ahead and, just play whatever else you like. I am playing the Red Eyes Dragoon. It does allow us to get some more control, and it's like my generic fusion trap that works very well with our Predaplant Verde Anaconda will be the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Going into our links, we got the single copy of Artemis, mostly for the level 4 or lower spellcaster. This allows us to trade out our Mathematician, get that light attribute again, and still be able to go into our constructs. I don't have an access code talker, so I went with my Boral Sword. You could throw Apollousa in this spot. It's not terrible either way. One that's kind of a given, you need to be playing Cross Sheep. Again, we got some secret rare love from the Megaton, which is awesome. Single copy of Gravity Controller. This actually comes up. And, it's like Neo Grand Mole, so go ahead and play that. The single Verde Anaconda. Again, if you don't have this, don't stress it. This is a perfect spot for something like IP Masquerena. At which point you could go IP over here. You can go ahead, change the Dragoon into another Starving Venom Fusion. Or, play against your local meta. Just throw in some of those other good generic ones for the fusion traps. And then 1 copy Celine. Again, the majority of this deck is going to be Spellcaster, so it's good to have some revival. And that's the deck. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed the deck list, if that was all that you were here for. Go ahead, let me know what you guys would change. I'm always interested to get your guys' point of view on things. And if you guys like this and you haven't already and you'd like to support this channel, just go ahead and hit subscribe. Let your friends know. Nothing serious. The big ask here is for you guys to go and have a great day. So you guys are dismissed. Everybody else, if you guys want to know what the cards do, why the choices, let's kind of go into it. I may have shuffled them up a little bit weird, but we'll deal with it. All right, so back into the main deck. The first card we chose was Shaddoll Wendy. Now, a big deal with the Shaddolls is they do have a flip effect and then they do have a send effect. And you get one or the other per turn. So I'm not going to read the last sentence on every card. Sorry. We're just going to go over the base effects. So Wendy's flip effect is to special summon a Shaddoll from the deck in defense, whether it's face up or down, your choice, except same name. And if sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon 1 Shaddoll from the deck in face down defense, except same name. So again, just very good. It's always going to be a play. And again, if you do this off of Foolish Burial or you do this off Mathematician, you already had 2 monsters. You could set up Dragoon just rapidly. It's just crazy how quickly you can do that. The Squamata, as a flip, target a monster on the field and destroy it. And if sent to the graveyard by a card effect, send 1 Shaddoll from the deck to the graveyard with a different name, which means that you will get another effect. So Squamata, big deal, good card. Hedgehog, on the flip, you can add a Shaddoll spell trap from your deck to your hand. And again, that's super important. And if sent to the graveyard by card effect, add 1 Shaddoll monster from deck to hand. So we're going to get some good searches either way. And again, very easy to set up with the other cards in his deck. Aerial, again, we ran this one at 2. You get on the flip, target 1 of your banished Shaddolls and special summon it in face-up or down defense position. And if sent to the graveyard by a card effect, target up to 3 cards in the graveyards, banishing them. So it's a very good control aspect on the send. You can do a lot more damage than you could with a single DD Crow. And it's just great that it just fits in with the theme of the deck. Falco, one of my one-ofs. On the flip, target a Shaddoll in the graveyard, except same name, special summon it in face down. If sent to the graveyard by card effect, special summon itself in face down defense position. Still going to board himself. And again, if he survives the turn, we can go ahead and get the flip and then just, extend his effect and his worth. Beast. On the flip, draw 2, drop 1, and when sent, draw 1. It's just good. Again, if we could get this more than once per turn, I would consider bumping him up. But right now, it's just good at 1. And Dragon, on the flip, target a card the opponent controls and return it to the hand. And when sent to the graveyard by card effect, target a spell trap and destroy it. Again, we're not facing big back row heavy meta right now. So this guy is a good one-of. It's good to help maybe clear like that 1 trap or that 1 field spell or that 1 continuous that's doing something. And then just help disable the opponent. The Dark Magician and the Red Eyes are just to look pretty. And also to play our big boss monster Dragoon. Again, to the hand traps, the Effect Veiler. During the opponent's main phase as a quick effect, send this from the hand to the discard pile. Target an effect monster they control, negate the effects for the turn. And again, this could help you stall some things. It's a fairly good disruption. And in some instances, could be considered to be better than Ash Blossom for this. And again, since we have boarded this in, it is an extra light attribute for when we're going for our construct. So that was also very important to me when I was deck building this one. Let's skip back over to Nib. Because again, this got all out of sorts the way I just scooped it up. Nib, I think you guys know this one. During the main phase, if the opponent normal or special summons 5 or more times, quick effect, tribute as many monsters as they have. As many monsters on the field as possible. If do special summon this from your hand, then special summon a primal token. Opponent's side, attack and defense are the combined stat of all the tributed monsters. You can only use this offense once per turn. Or this effect once per turn. I guess it's kind of offensive if you're playing a combo deck. But again, this is one of those things that can actually force a pass for the opponent's turn. And so again, you guys should capitalize on it. Additionally, another light attribute. Again, we're just trying to make Construct as playable as possible. Riliona, the Magistus of Ver. If normal, summoned, or special summoned, you can activate one of the following effects. First one, add Magistus spell trap from deck to hand. Obviously, we have 2 of those, so we have the targets. Or return one of your banished level 4 lower spellcasters to your graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Magistus monster you control. Equip it with this. Equip it with 1 from the graveyard except a level 4. Again, we're not really playing a bunch of Magistus, so that second effect, not really going to use it. We're using this for the light attribute and the search. Again, it gets us an extra special summon on the Vitra. And it gets us an extra fusion on the Magistus Invocation. So very cool. And then, of course, Mathematician, Spellcaster. When this is normal summon, send a level 4 lower from the deck to the discard pile. When this is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. That's probably not going to happen. A lot of the time I play this, I go ahead and I go into Artemis so that I can get into my Construct. I just want to get into Construct as fast as possible most games. Again, there's the Vitra. Target 1 level 4 lower magistus in the graveyard. Again, since it does have a level, we're not going to be able to pull our link. And again, since this is a special summon, we could use the Vitra to go ahead and grab the invocation if you want to do some deck thinning. And if magistus cards would be in the spell trap zone, would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you could banish this instead. That's more or less for magistus plays, not for this deck. We just want to bring back the Madame Fair to go ahead and build for our links or to add extra fusion material. The invocation, the only part we're worried about is the first part. Fusion summon a fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from hand and field as material, including a spellcaster. Again, majority of our deck is spellcasters. This is going to work. Foolish Burial, send a monster from the deck to the discard. Again, this is going to trigger out whichever Shaddoll effect that you're looking for. Red Eyes Fusion, you want to use this off the Verde Anaconda if at all possible. Go into Dragoon and start controlling plays. The double Super Poly, pitch a card, fusion summon a monster using cards from anywhere on the field. And it can't be responded to, which is amazing. And so, like, you can go ahead and let your opponent do some play. And again, if they're playing like a big dark deck or whatever, snack it up, go into the Starving Venom. Or you do have the ability to use it for the Construct and the Winda as well. We do have the Shaddoll Fusions. These are great. Fusion summon a Shaddoll fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from hand and field as material. If your opponent controls a monster with special summon from their extra deck, and this doesn't actually include a pendulum as long as it did come from the extra deck. You can also use monsters from the deck as material as well. You can only activate one of these per turn. So again, you don't want to end up with too many of these in the hand, but we do have ways to discard them, so it's fine. And again, we have ways to recycle it. The L Shaddoll Fusion, it is quick play, like I mentioned earlier, so you can press attacks. Fusion summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster from the extra deck using cards from hand and field as material. Again, you can only activate one of these per turn. This is why we needed so many fusion spells. To our traps, we do have the Schism. During the main phase, you can fusion summon one Shaddoll Fusion monster from the fusion deck by banishing materials from field or grave, which is, again, a good effect here. It cannot attack directly. Little drawback, it's fine. Then you can send to the graveyard one monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as the fusion summoned monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, light and dark seem to be the most prevalent. And so those are the attributes we decided to run this time. And then, of course, Rest Shaddoll Incarnation. You guys are going to understand why this is a 1. Target a Shaddoll monster in the graveyard. Special summon it face up or down in defense. You can banish this and one Shaddoll from the graveyard to activate one of the following effects. Change a face-down monster you control to face-up defense, or change a face-up to face-down defense. You can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn. So again, it does carry that Shaddoll once per turn bit, but I do believe that this was just one of those things. They didn't want you to abuse both effects on the same turn. So I think it was designed properly. But again, we can recycle those through the Fusion Monsters effects, as you guys are about to see. So it's not a big deal. So the first one up is App Cologne. It is 2 Shaddolls with different attributes. Again, very easy to do in this deck. Must first be Fusion Summoned, cannot be destroyed by battle. And you can only use each of the effects once per turn. So if it is Special Summoned, you can target a face-up card on the field and negate its effects. So we get extra disruption. And if this is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, then discard a card. So this is actually a very good like reverse/regular tutor. And it's going to do both roles just fine. Again, there was 2 of them. I just got them a little mixed up. Construct, our big bad. 1 Shaddoll plus 1 light. Must first be Fusion Summoned. If it is Special Summoned, you can send 1 Shaddoll from deck to the graveyard. And it does say cards, so we can get the trap card, Rest Shaddoll Incarnation, down. That is possible. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a Special Summoned card, destroy that monster. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Shaddoll spell trap in the graveyard and add that back to your hand. So very cool. Very cool. And again, maximize it at 3. 2 copies Winda. Again, there was no space for the third. 2 seems to play consistent enough. This is Shaddoll plus Dark. Must be first Fusion Summoned. Cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effects, which is good. Each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while this card is face up on the field. So it's got a very good restrictive limiting effect. And again, if this one is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Shaddoll spell trap in the graveyard and add that back to your hand. Again, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, D-Mage, and Red Eyes, or one Dragon effect. Again, we're never going to do it that way. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. During the main phase, you can destroy a monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. You can use this effect a number of times equal to the number of normal monsters used to fusion summon this card. Again, we're going to use 2, so it's always going to be 2. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can discard 1 card, negate the activation if you do destroy the card, and if you do that, this card gains 1,000 attack. That is a permanent bonus, so that's very cool. This card can get very big. Usually doesn't. It just is what it is, guys. And in Starving Venom, I could go through this one. I don't want to waste too much time on it. Suffice it to say, it's any 2 darks except tokens. Dark being one of the easiest attributes to find. And again, with Vert Anaconda's effect, we'll be able to trigger this easier. It can punch over bigger monsters because it can take over a monster's name, add its attack power to it. It's a very cool, useful card. The links are more exciting. We do have the single copy Selene. So 2+ monsters, including a spellcaster. Very easy to climb into this in this deck. If this is link summoned, place spell counters on it equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyards. You can forget the Edmund portion here. Quick effect, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field. Special summon a spellcaster from your hand or graveyard in defense to a zone this card points to. So again, this can help you get up into like Boral Sword. Or again, if you guys chose to go Appaloosa, this could help you get into Appaloosa very quickly. You won't have as many negates on the Appaloosa, which is why I went Boral Sword, whatever. Vert Anaconda, any 2 effect monsters. Target a face-up monster on the field. It becomes dark until the end of the turn. Again, this is one of my favorite ways and the reason that I use the Starving Venom in this build. Pay 2k life. Send 1 fusion or polymerization normal or quick play spell from deck to grave. This card's effect becomes that card's effect when it would be activated. And you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn after you activate this effect. You can only use each effect once per turn. It's very good. It's balanced. Unfortunately, it's still pricey. It is what it is. But don't fear. You guys can change that. Gravity Controller. 1 non-link monster in an extra monster zone. So again, you can go into this using one of our fusions. Cannot be used as link material the turn it is link summoned. This card in the extra monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster in a main monster zone. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone, you can return both cards to the deck. So again, kind of the Neo's version, like the new version of Neospacian Grand Mole. Cross Cheap, any 2 monsters with different names. If a monster is special summoned to a zone this points to, apply the following effects in sequence based on the card types. Again, the only one we're really worried about is going to be Fusion, which will allow us to special summon a level 4 or lower monster from our graveyard. Again, going into some extension. And again, allowing you to cause a link climb. Boral Sword is just my favorite offensive option. Again, didn't have access code talker, didn't want to go into Appaloosa and make it too weak. Any 3+ effect monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, quick effect. You can target an attack position monster, change it to defense position. It can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to that. Once per turn, when this card declares an attack on a face-up monster, activate this effect until the end of the turn. Gain attack equal to half that monster's current attack. And if you do, that monster gets its attack halved. So it's almost like a walking version of the old spell card Roroku, which is, again, awesome. And then the single copy Artemis. Again, just 1 level 4 lower spellcaster. This is how I want to go into another light. I want to go ahead and standardize our plays into Construct. If another Magistus monster would be normal or special summoned while you control this, you can target one of those, equip this to it. When this card is equipped to a monster, you can add 1 Magistus monster from the deck to your hand. You can use each effect once per turn. You can only special summon these once per turn. This is maybe, you could Maybe, you know, equip it to Riliona to add a Riliona. I probably wouldn't. Just is what it is. I would definitely just be focused on the construct. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. I hope you don't mind that I skipped over the Starving Venom. It's a pretty cool deck. It's not super budget friendly, but there are definitely things that you guys can do. Again, you guys could take out the Dragoon. You could take out the Verde Anaconda. You could add more super poly targets. You guys could play more into the different attributes for the Shaddolls themselves. But this is really fun. And again, I really wanted this last month. It was supposed to be the Halloween deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And seriously, have a great day. I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.